3, 2, 1.
Testing. Beautiful.
And we're back.
I'm being seriously.
It's like we never left. Because last week's episode was a little unhinged, I would say.
Last week's episode was definitely
Unhinged.
unhinged. It was wild. It was
Remember I told you
change of
about
pace.
the slashing of tires last week?
Oh my god, the slashing of tires last week.
Yeah. And then how they used like paint thinner or something?
Yeah, they
and
had
put it
paint
on the
thinner
car.
and shit. Yeah. They took the license plates.
Oh yeah, that's so
They
crazy.
took both of the license plates.
So catch up on last week's
And they popped
episode. 3.
They popped 3 tires so the insurance wouldn't cover it.
Oh, is that what happens?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That's a
petty.
thing?
Yeah, some petty shit.
So if you only pop 3 tires, your insurance can't cover it?
I don't know if that's true or not, but maybe some insurances won't cover it if it's not the whole set. Maybe that's why they do it. I heard someone say that at some point, either in a movie or real life, and then
Your past life.
and then your cousin said, that's why they did it too.
My cousin said that?
Yeah.
When did she say that?
She said that when you were telling the story.
Really? I didn't hear her.
Yeah, she brought that up, and I was like, oh.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The 3 tires.
What do you think about when you die? Do you think you come back?
Come back?
Yeah, like do you think you're...
Like the new comeback sauce? Have you seen that?
No.
It's at KFC, they have a new comeback sauce.
Do you think that we reincarnate into...
I don't know if I...
No, you don't have to know. It's just what you think.
I don't know if I ever really, felt too connected to the reincarnation thing.
Why?
I don't know. It just didn't seem...
Doesn't make sense.
Not that it doesn't make sense. I guess it does conceptually to me, but just from what I've seen, I just feel like there'd be more, I don't know, more presence from people who've existed already, some sort of undeniability to that.
Undeniability.
I feel like I had this weird thought.
Sure.
I had this weird thought because obviously I just lost a friend. And I've been thinking a lot about death.
That was a smooth transition. I didn't realize you were going there.
Well, if not now, then when,
I guess that's true.
So some of your listeners know him. And
the one and only.
The one and only David. As some people affectionately know him as Ducky.
Or David Copperfield.
Or David Copperfield, the magic man himself.
Either or.
Yes. Perhaps even more magical than David Copperfield.
In some ways, yeah.
Anyways, so I've been thinking a lot about death. Sure. And I had this strange thought. What if when you died, you whatever happened, you woke up and then you continued in a different timeline?
Mm-hmm.
It just continues. Let's say you got into a car accident and then you died.
Mm-hmm.
And then in your reality, everyone's, mourning you and you're dead.
But you're on a different timeline.
But you, not you, but whoever died, they woke up from the accident or they got out of the accident. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe I survived that. And then they continued on a different timeline.
Would it be crazy if your dreams are just a different timeline and then when you die, you carry on that timeline? You know?
Yeah, but then which timeline would you carry on?
The dream timeline.
But all the dream timelines are all the one timeline?
Maybe they are.
I feel that wouldn't make too much sense.
I mean, what really
maybe
makes
multiple.
sense sense.
What really makes sense in the dreams? Dreams don't make any sense.
Oh, you remember what I told you about my theory of what dreams are?
Yeah, what did you say?
It's mental poop.
It's mental poop.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you gotta clear out the mental poop to make room for
Yeah, like, cause,
good
okay,
stuff.
we eat a bunch of stuff throughout the day, and then throughout the day we poop.
It's like the pulp and
It,
the rind and
it exits,
the
and it's
bones.
like the same with our brain needing to mentally and emotionally poop things out.
Mm-hmm.
So we see so much throughout the day that sometimes, like, you'll have a dream and you'll be like, why the fuck did I dream about that? But
Mm-hmm.
it's like maybe things you've seen throughout the day without your consent.
Yeah.
Like, especially with social media, we see a lot of that. Like, a bunch of stuff that
You see in passing
we
that
see
you
in
just like,
passing that we didn't consent to sometimes. I'm saying that because sometimes I
I mean,
see
you
shit and
did.
I'm like,
You downloaded that
I
app.
didn't ask for this.
When you download that app, you can censor whatever the fuck it shows you. It's like a deal with the devil.
So I think that when
Satan.
we dream, it's mental poop. So it doesn't have a lot of meaning,
I agree.
you know,
I think people they look too
too
deeply
far
into their
into
dreams.
dreams. I agree.
And then they try to give all other dreams meaning. And
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes there is some meaning maybe to like gather from your dreams and how they play out.
Possibly.
I think sometimes it's like if it's relevant, it's relevant and you do what you want with it. But I think most of the time, yeah, I agree with you. It's probably just mental poop. Like your brain is just like clearing out all the clutter and all the extra shit from the meat of the day
Yeah, that's why, like, when you don't get enough sleep, you didn't poop enough
out of your brain.
mentally.
The brain poop just
So
fills up
you're all like crazy and delulu.
and then you get that toxic brain.
But then you sleep enough and then you're able to poop out enough bullshit.
It's true.
Yeah.
Hmm. Pretty
But
good.
going back to death.
Pretty good.
So different timelines.
Different timelines. But then, then at that point, it's like, I guess, the thing of reincarnation to me is just like, how is that determined? How does that happen? And I guess at the end of the day, like, I guess you're not supposed to quite understand something as like profound as death or life, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
like, what do those things really mean in the grand scheme of things? Because it means a lot to us because we're here and we're not here for a long time. But what if, like, at the end of it all, like, it's not that important?
Yeah.
What if it's like a lot closer to life and than we know? There's for sure a lot of parts of existence that just don't make sense.
Yeah. But I mean, it is pretty true that energy never dies. So your
Yeah,
energy is existing in this universe.
somewhere.
And so I actually do believe in reincarnation. And I don't know if I truly believe this, but sometimes I believe that I lived another life.
Whoa. I don't.
I don't know if I'm like totally, like, I totally completely believe in that, but I do believe that some people are more wiser than others. And I don't know if it's because some people have lived other lives before, and so maybe like they just know better. But sometimes I feel like I also just like resonate more with like older stuff and
You feel like you're an
older
old soul.
people. Yeah.
You feel old.
And I just like, I usually,
You feel like you've been through it.
I feel like I've been through it.
You've
And
been
I
here.
usually tell people, like, when, I recognize the situation, I'm like, you shouldn't do that because of X, Y, and Z. Like, I'm already on top of like why you shouldn't do some things or why you should.
Mm,
And I feel like I provide a lot of unsolicited advice.
that is probably.
Advice that people don't ask for, but I hope that some people take sometimes.
Yeah, you can't force people to take advice, but it's good that you have some for people.
So yeah, so for like those reasons, I'm gonna have to pass on the deal. For those reasons, I'm out.
And for that, I'm out. In perpetuity. I I think like okay, so the reincarnation thing, like I absolutely do feel that the energy that leaves your body and your vessel when you're gone, I think that for sure gets put to use, and babies are born and trees are grown and animals are conceived, and life goes on, right, with the energy
Mm-hmm.
from that. Um, but to me, reincarnation, I think like the soul, the spirit, like yes, the energy itself goes elsewhere, but I feel like the spirit, the soul, like whatever, what have you, like who you are,
Mm-hmm.
um, I feel like it has to continue somehow. It just doesn't make sense to me for it to go away. Um, because I feel like everything that exists takes up storage, like even words, like if you could think it, you could say it, like it takes up storage. And if you were to break down all the things that are like
Mm-hmm.
things that exist, and you just broke it down to like numbers, it's like storage, like in a computer, right?
Okay.
So it all is somewhere. There's
Mm-hmm.
always a way to find where the data's at, and it's all information. That's all everything is. So I don't imagine that like we would use all this storage for people's spirits, for their souls, and then after they're dead, they're just done.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause it seems uh, like pointless use of storage.
Okay.
And there's definitely not an infinite amount of storage, or is there?
Well, I mean, depends how you see the world and what you think about the ending to planet Earth.
What about the beginning?
Because, yeah, there isn't an infinite amount of storage.
Like, where do all the souls and spirits go? That's what I'm asking.
Well, what if they go into other universes?
Oh, the
Or
universes.
other, like, I also had this thought that what if, like, you know how, like, we can't find really, like, existing creatures on other planets? But what if when we die,
We're just on another planet,
we're just on another planet?
and that's why it's so hard to get to other galaxies and universes,
Yeah.
because it's like it's so like unreasonably far that you wouldn't get there in a lifetime. But the only way is to like die.
Yeah.
That's crazy. What if death is space travel?
Yeah.
What if you had to like die in certain places to get to certain planets?
Yeah. So I just think that that could possibly be a thing.
Yeah, it's kind of scary to imagine nothing happening.
Yeah.
And I think,
It's just a little weird that like planet Earth has like everything and that like humans are built kind of perfectly and created like, we use our hands and our legs to walk and like our hands do everything and our brains function with our body and like
yeah, like we have all these senses and like capabilities with our bodies to
yeah,
invent and
like it's
learn
kind of
and
strange that
survive.
we're like here.
We have all these tools
And
at our
it's like
disposal.
the oxygen that we breathe is,
It's just like the right amount for us to
yeah,
survive,
yeah,
not just die or be poisoned.
right?
Yeah, it's all like a very exact amount of just like balance, where everything is kind of held together by just like a few numbers off, and things would just be like chaos, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like we would be born with like three eyes and like a cleft and hoods over our eyes and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. It is kind of crazy to imagine like all the possibilities and potential, and then for things to be the way they are. Is
Mm-hmm.
like, what are the chances of that? And that's what I think. Like a lot of people who are like the simulation theory stuff and like matrix stuff is like, that's why it's kind of easy to feel like, what is going on really? Because you're like, why is everything so perfect?
Yeah.
shapes and patterns and numbers and
But it's also not perfect because life is really hard.
well,
So,
emotionally, yeah, and subjectively, it's like the hardest thing for sure. Yeah, it just doesn't seem to get any easier as you get older or as it goes on. But I think that you have to constantly like realign your perspective with your intentions, and you have to maintain that perspective by constantly reflecting and being grateful and being present. And I think that if you don't have the ability to work on your perspective, then you won't gain wisdom, and you also won't find meaning,
true.
and you also won't be able to find meaning in your relationships, in your life. I think meaning is very dependent on, heavily determined by perspective and your outlook and your overall, you know, your overall outlook on life and people and what those things mean.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's easy to dismiss like things or people because maybe they don't do things right, or maybe they don't quite understand, or they don't see things on your level. And I think it's easy to say like, oh, people, like, they're not happy, or they're not this, or they don't even know. And there's a lot of people who are happy and they don't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a lot of people who know
A lot.
far too much and they're just so
Sad.
sad, and like, and that's why it's like you have to work on that perspective, because you can become curious, and then you start learning more, and you seek out more, and you live more. And it seems like the more that you learn, the more experiences you have, the more sadness and negative emotions and adversity you'll deal with at some point.
I think that also still though goes back to like your perspective on if you're willing to keep up and to change perspective throughout your lifetime. You can't
Yeah.
have most people don't have the same perspective they had when they were younger, you
Hmm.
know.
They
And
shouldn't.
yeah, and you shouldn't. I think you should evolve throughout your lifetime, and I feel like this year has been very pivotal for me to understand what my perspective is, and it's kind of scary and hard because it's just like changing it's like rewiring your brain too.
Yeah, your thought process
And um
like
yeah,
has
just
that.
perspective is really important, I would say.
I think it's like the most important for me lately, because I think that if I don't pay attention to my perspective, it could easily harm my ability to manage my emotions and my mood.
Yeah. Like society as it the way it is now, especially like with social media and stuff, I think it's almost designed to make you have this negative perspective on life.
Yeah. There's a lot of like contrasting like trends and just like patterns that happen on social media where you're like
Yeah.
constantly like,
Self-deprecative
yeah,
and
it's
like
self-deprecative, or it like pits you against other people, and it's like
true.
comparative when you don't
Definitely.
you don't want to live that way.
I see that a lot with like people that post a lot about, and I know I've done this too, but because it is interesting, but like there are some people that make content specifically just to pit women against men or to pit men against women.
Oh yeah, like bait. It's like
Yeah.
rage bait stuff.
And then
Yeah,
it's
that's
just
true.
like,
I agree with that. Like it's just like problematic on purpose, like
yeah,
divisive stuff.
yeah, for sure.
I agree with that. That's like um it's kind of
Or even this,
scary.
even the same thing with like this. I didn't used to see this when I was younger. Obviously, we didn't have social media like this, but I didn't used to hear too often where it's like, well, Gen Z versus millennials and like all the generations that are like pitted against each other now,
It's
you
like
know?
teams
Yeah. And it's like almost to make you like mad and angry and like feel irked
and
about just like
excluded
the
too.
younger people versus the older people and like who's better and like it's like Yeah, all of it is divisive for sure.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like
And then
any of that stuff
and
is
if you're
good.
not like thoroughly processing all of this stuff and you're just like continuing to scroll, then you don't actually get to really get a chance to clear your perspective on like how you think about these things that you're seeing, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah,
And then it's easy just to be mad.
yeah, it is. It's all very angering.
Or it's easy just to believe what you're seeing without questioning it and keep scrolling than to actually process like why does that irritate you? Or like does it even really irritate you? Is it really that deep? You know?
Yeah,
I feel like not enough people process what they're seeing.
yeah. Most people are not processing actively. I feel like most people on their phones are trying to
And I
like,
probably I can't say that I'm like not doing that either because I probably
yeah.
am.
I feel like most people are trying to just distract themselves, like at work, or maybe they're in an uncomfortable situation, or
Yeah.
like I find myself when I walk Kobe, like sometimes I'm just on my phone because strangers are walking by us and I just don't want to deal with people.
Mm-hmm.
Or you ever find yourself walking at work and you're on your phone because you don't want to like say hi to someone or you just want to seem busy?
Yeah.
Like I do that a lot at work.
Yeah.
Like I'm on my work phone, like I'm like checking my email or like acting like I'm don't have time to talk.
Yeah, for sure. I think everybody does that.
I just don't have time for small conversation, for small talk. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to just be like, "Hey, how's it going? Good morning. Oh yeah, I'm doing great." And then like you just gotta bullshit just to like maintain, I don't know, like accordance with the social contract everyone's in at work.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah,
But that's why going back, not that's why, but going back to perspective, it's very important to like upkeep that perspective on your life and where you want to be and who you want to be. Because it's easy to just fall into a pit of just like heaviness
negativity
and
and
darkness.
darkness imprisoned in me.
Yeah, it's easy to just fall into depression and not enough people or I would say even like these apps and stuff, they're not really there to help you either with that depression.
No, it doesn't. Everything just seems like it's designed to capture your attention, but
It's
in
almost
like
designed
a
to go against you too,
yeah,
I would say. You know? It's designed to just like make you pay money
in time.
in your
It's the
time
same
and
shit though,
yeah.
right? After a while, you're like, it's money, time, what's the difference?
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah, I think that time is important, but sometimes people don't realize that as time's passing, that they're not utilizing the total value of what that time means. Because like that's why experience is important, right? And as you get older, you're like you start learning more shit and you start feeling wiser because you start reflecting on things, and then you take those sessions where you're reflecting and you like you tell yourself actively like, okay, I understand this now, and oh, actually I should have seen this clearer before. Now I see it. In the future, I won't be caught off guard by this. Or and some people just live without. I don't know if they're not paying attention or what it is, but maybe sometimes it's just like too heavy and hard to process all the things that have happened and are happening,
mm-hmm.
and you just end up kind of like unaffected by your reality, and then you like what's left, like are you really even existing at that point, or are you just kind of allowing everything and everyone to just like, I don't know, kind of influence you however your complacency allows you to be, like,
Yeah.
I don't even know what I'm saying, to be honest. I just feel like I'm getting older and there's too much to reflect on, and just there's just like too many people that come into your life, like that you have to care about,
Mm-hmm.
and there's just like not enough time for everyone that you care about, for all the things you care about. There's not enough time for yourself. So life is a very interesting balancing act, I feel like, um, where you have to kind of like balance that perspective with the amount of time you're given, and you don't want to spend too much time reflecting and being away and isolating yourself that you don't even get to experience anymore. And it's like balancing all those things is like finding fulfillment, right?
Sure, babe. I agree.
I don't know what I'm saying. Um, yeah.
How's your mourning process going?
How's my morning
If
process?
you want to talk
Oh, I
about it.
was like morning, like, well, I don't eat breakfast normally.
You don't have to talk about it.
My morning process, you know, um, I don't know. It changes day by day, and I think that it never is predictable to me. I think as I've gotten older throughout the years and experienced more and more loss, I don't feel any better equipped for the next one. I feel like it all hits differently. I feel like you can never quite prepare yourself. And a lot of it is like really determined by perspective. Like, I think that if I didn't take time to reflect on my life and the things I'm grateful for and the people I'm grateful for, the moments I'm grateful for, if I just didn't take time to be grateful, I think I would have a much harder time.
Yeah,
And not to say that it's easy, it's definitely not easy at all. As you've seen, you've experienced, you've been here with me. Um, but I have to like constantly remind myself that I'm grateful for the time I had with David, and I'm grateful for the memories I've been able to make. Like I have like almost 2 decades of memories with him, and so I have this like large reservoir of memories to reflect on and to cherish and replay, and I have all these stories to tell. Um, so I can't be upset with any of that. I can be upset with like, obviously that he's not here anymore and upset with having to deal with that reality. But I'm still grateful for my life and for the things I have. I'm grateful that I've had this time with him. Like I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for Kobe and all the rest of my friends and family. Um, but I think this is already something that I've already been working on, and I know you have too. We've both been trying to work on being more grateful in the moment with ourselves and other people, right? So I know that some of my friends are having a really, really hard time, and obviously his family's having a very difficult time. And I don't want to like make it sound like I'm having like the easiest time because I'm not. I'm having a very difficult time mourning, but I'm not having a difficult time maintaining my perspective. And
that's good.
my perspective is that I'm happy. I'm not happy with people I've lost or the way things have played out for some people and some things in life, but I'm happy with who I am. I'm happy with what I have. I'm happy with what's to come, and I have to just maintain that because I just don't want to be sad, and I don't want to be angry, and I just don't want to spend any more of my life being not caring.
Hmm.
I want to care,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, I agree. And I think everyone's mourning process is different, but I think that when some people have the tools to cope through mourning on their own without like any vices or things
Mm-hmm.
like that, and I think for those people, like sometimes it's a little more like you experience more presence when you don't have any like vices to fall back on. And I think that also gives you some more tolerance in just,
Like reality,
yeah, reality
it's
and
true.
just coping and, you know,
Because all the vices are like a buffer between reality.
in a way, yeah, it's to kind of escape and avoid
I
like
agree with that.
your emotions and your feelings. I think
Yeah,
you're doing a pretty good job at this process.
It's
I
very
know
hard
some
not
days
to.
have been hard though.
Yeah, some days have been hard. It's hard not to have a buffer.
Yeah, to escape in.
It's so easy too. It's like so
Yeah.
accessible. Like you can do a lot of things to put a buffer. And you can easily get lost in them. You could drink too much, you can do drugs, like you can overeat, you can fucking
Do dangerous
do
things.
dangerous things, you can like overindulge in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. And it's like so easy to get caught in that, and you see how it happens to people, and then they end up in a position where they can't go back to who or what they had before.
Yeah.
Um, it's very like scary to see how easily it is to fall into that, because I see the potential in myself if I were to not be disciplined or to have maybe the perspective I have, that it'd be easy to fall into that
Yeah.
type of behavior.
Yeah. I agree. That's why a
Uh,
lot of people I think do that too.
I
So
think
most people also, especially men,
yeah,
they don't like talking about their feelings. They don't like talking
yeah,
about things or
with each other either.
yeah.
I think
So
it's important to like set that boundary with yourself and other people.
mhm.
Um, because like people talk about boundaries and they talk about it in like reference to people around them, and usually it like is paired with things like, oh, like toxic, and it's paired with all these like other hot words.
Mhm.
Uh, but sometimes boundaries don't just mean between you and other people in negative situations. It's like even between yourself
Right.
with your own actions and your subconscious, and boundaries with people that are even in healthy ways, like healthy boundaries.
Mhm.
Like having the discipline to like after something has happened to you or you're experiencing some stress or like difficulty, to be like, oh, I'm gonna maintain a perspective, and I have a goal and an intention for how I want to view the world and myself, and I'm not gonna allow things to affect that. That's like a
Mhm.
boundary you're setting with yourself, right?
Yeah, I would say that. Something my therapist has told me recently is that like sure, like which is also her guiding me or helping me set a boundary for myself, like sure, you can make yourself feel guilty about something, a situation that you were in, and like, maybe it's a situation that scares you or makes you feel guilty or makes you feel shame and embarrassed or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. Um, but you need to set a time limit on how long you're going to beat yourself up for, because that's setting a boundary for yourself that you don't deserve to be every day beating up on yourself and like saying all these bad things about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to do that, you should set a time limit for it. Give yourself a couple weeks, give like a month,
Mm-hmm.
and then be like, after that, I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to work on not beating myself up every day. And
Mm-hmm.
then like, that's setting a boundary with yourself.
That's true. Because then it could easily like you could overdo it
Mm-hmm.
and spend too much time, and then it's counterproductive.
And it's like knowing that you don't deserve that.
Yeah.
Nobody deserves that, you know?
Yeah. No one deserves to be like constantly shitting on themselves.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't want someone doing that to you.
Yeah.
So why would you do it to yourself?
Mm-hmm.
I try to think about that a lot. Like when it comes to boundaries, like what type of thing would I not tolerate someone else doing to me?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then why do I do that to myself?
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at other people that you care about and you think, well, would you be happy if someone was treating you love like that?
Yeah.
And say, well, then why would you treat yourself like
Yourself.
that? Or why would you treat someone else like that? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's difficult to figure out boundaries with people the longer you've known them and the longer um, you've loved them.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you build like vulnerability, like a comfort with people where you can be vulnerable, and then you start learning more about each other, and then especially with friends and family, like you learn all these things about people. You learn how to like hurt them. They learn how to
Yeah.
hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the most like difficult parts of, I feel like, relationships is knowing how to navigate those things. And when things turn emotional or things become heated, like do you choose to sting at those people by, poking at the parts that you understand hurt them,
Mm-hmm.
or do you take the high road, like
Right.
you have to kind of like learn how to do those things,
It's also a sense of control that you need to have within yourself. Like,
like emotional control.
yeah, like, yes. I mean, for me, there's been a lot of people in my life where I know what shit to say
Yeah,
to fucking, yeah, like
to really hurt them.
turn the fucking knife in their heart, you know?
Yeah,
But I choose not to do that because I don't want to hurt people. That's not my intention.
yeah. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
And even in the case where sometimes maybe a person has hurt me, like I usually don't let myself get that far where I like, especially if it's like you're saying, like a person you love, a friend, family, like, you know, sometimes there's restrictions. You're like, I'm not going to do that,
Yeah,
even though they fucking hurt me.
even if they fucking hurt you, yeah, and you realize like you can't really fall for that trap because it's like
Because we're all capable of doing and saying some really
yeah,
mean
we
shit.
all
It's
are.
just like, is that really who you want to align with? Is that person that says the meanest shit they could?
Yeah, they're pitfalls of character. Like it's easy to it's too easy to fall for that because it's not only is it like highly emotional and irrational, it's like also it's just not wise for your own sake of mind.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like you when you choose to be confrontational or you choose to like be petty and divisive with people, especially people you care about, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice because at the end of the day you have to also deal with the emotions and the fallout from that. And it's like, why are you just wasted your own time and effort and energy to deal with these things when you could sometimes just take the high road and put distance and set boundaries in a healthier way without like having to go for the neck.
Hmm.
But that's part of like, getting older and setting boundaries with yourself, setting boundaries with other people. It's like it kind of starts with the self, and that's how you navigate other people.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it gets harder as you get older.
I guess I don't agree with that. I think
Uh,
it's so far getting easier as I get older because I stopped giving a shit
I just meant
about
life in
other
general. My bad.
people. Yeah.
Not just boundaries. I should have
And like
clarified. I meant life just
I
keeps
feel
getting
like
harder.
as I get older, like boundaries get easier.
Yeah, boundaries get easier, but life. How's life? Is it getting harder? Do you think it's getting harder?
Um, I
No.
think it's getting I don't think it's getting harder. I just think I'm changing. And so like I'm adjusting to that change. And like I think physically, yeah, life is getting harder to my body. But I should probably be more active and maybe it'll help a little bit.
Yeah, there's stuff you could do about that.
Um, but as far as like just overall, I don't think life is getting harder. I just think I'm changing. And that's my perspective. Because I don't want to think that it's just going to keep getting harder and harder as I get older, because that sounds not so fun
Yeah,
if you think about it like that. So,
I think that's why this podcast is important because I think it's like a live journal of your reflections and your like I mean
thought
your
process.
thought process, and sometimes you have other people involved in it, and it's a learning experience for like listeners, for you, for your guests. And I think that it's important to share those moments of reflection and like vulnerability because it takes practice to do those things, and doing it this way is not only like highly vulnerable, but it's also like communal in a way because it's like you're learning things in real time as we're talking. We're both learning real things, we're realizing things, we're like sharing them, we're working on how to articulate what those things mean to us, how they feel, how we see them. And
Mm.
then people who are listening are also being stimulated by that and potentially having the same dialogue with themselves and others
Yeah,
around
I
them.
agree.
Um, And I am grateful for having been on the podcast. I mean, Thanksgiving just passed, and it's a stupid holiday. Like most holidays, they're just capitalistic, consumer
Consumerism.
centric,
Yeah.
fucking just money sinks for corporations. But conceptually, all these things there's intention for some people behind it, and that's kind of all that matters sometimes.
Yeah.
And gratitude, we're talking about gratitude, we're talking about being thankful. I'm thankful, obviously. I'm thankful for you
Mm-hmm.
more than anything in this whole world. I'm thankful for Kobe, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
also thankful for this podcast and for being able to be a recurring guest on your podcast, which
Mm-hmm.
you've worked very hard to maintain and to get guests and to edit and freaking all every single step from top down, bottom up. Like, I'm grateful to be part of it because we get to have these conversations, and I've been able to participate in like-minded conversations with you and other people,
Mm-hmm.
and learn things about you and myself and other people in a very like open, honest, and healthy way where
You learn
it's
things about me?
I feel like I learn things about you all the time listening to you talk on here, and just I can identify because I know you. I spend every day with you. I can see like when an idea is forming based on the way you're talking or saying something, and it's exciting for me to see you in action and to see you like an idea spark in your head or a joke or like you get excited about something that I know means something to you,
Mm-hmm.
Or sometimes to see the things you get excited about that maybe I didn't realize excites you, and then it's exciting to talk about later with you and learn more about. Um, yeah, I'm not gonna go and say like everyone should start a podcast or anything like that, but I think more people should participate in like candid conversations with people they care about.
I agree. I agree that more people should put themselves out there. Yeah, you don't have to have a podcast, but I think you should definitely try to have conversations with other people, even if they're not your friends. Like,
Mm-hmm.
just really listen to and care about those like deep conversations that you can have with like a stranger. Because, like, working here, sometimes I know that there's old people that live in our property and they're tenants, and sometimes I know like they don't have anybody.
Like no one to talk to or listen to them.
And so like with those tenants, sometimes I really just like everything's down and it's just like me listening to them, and it means something to me. And a lot of times I think it means something to them too.
Yeah, it might.
And it's like
Probably does.
even just to be there to listen to some people, it's important.
Yeah,
Maybe you don't align with everything,
you don't
but
have to, huh?
you don't have to.
It's very human. Um, it's yeah, it's a small gesture that means a lot, and sometimes it goes a very long way for people.
Yeah.
To just give them the time of day to like let them say what's on their mind, and then you listen, you reciprocate. I think I think what the best practice to do sometimes is to talk to people, especially people you care about. You should start there, and then you take it with strangers. But like, try to have a conversation with someone. Not, I'm not telling you, obviously. I'm just saying, like, to people listening, like, to have a conversation with someone and not add in filler. Like, don't say shit that you don't mean, or don't ask questions you don't really give a fuck about. Like,
Yeah.
don't do the whole "how are you" thing if you don't really care. Or don't try to fill in with bullshit questions like that don't really mean much. Just like allow there to be silences that are uncomfortable and moments where you're trying to actually think of like what you want to say and what you want to know about someone, and just see like how the conversation finds meaning.
I think that even doing this podcast, like, although I get emails sometimes, it's like they tell me, here's how you could better your podcast. This is why your podcast is not growing, or this
Mm-hmm.
is what you could do to benefit more or increase more listeners and this and that. And sometimes it's just random emails. It's from like Buzzsprout or whatever platform I use.
Mm-hmm.
Um and they'll say it's because you don't have structure. I don't have structure in my
Mm.
podcast, apparently, which is fine. But I don't know where I was going with
Yeah,
this.
we're talking about conversation now, having honest, candid conversation,
Yeah,
not
but
filling the
I
space.
feel like here's what I was gonna say. I was just gonna say I feel like this podcast has helped me have those organic conversations, and maybe it's not so
Mm.
structured, but it's organic, and it's like literally just me listening to somebody
Mm-hmm.
and like asking them questions, and it's like all the barriers are like shut down, there's no, you can't use your phone really in the studio, or like when you have these mics you can't, it's just like
You just have to talk,
just talking,
but like actually talk about
but like
something.
listening and like caring. And
Yeah, and actively thinking about shit.
yeah, and I just like, and I enjoy those deep conversations, and so like it's helped me also like figure out how to ask questions, or like what type of questions I can ask to make somebody give me a little more background or like context of like what they mean when they say these
Mm-hmm.
things. So it's also
Yeah, I
helped
know.
me engage and talk to people in a more meaningful way.
Yeah, it's like a back and forth, like how to
Mm-hmm.
exchange the energy and how to stimulate someone. Because sometimes you talk to someone and you're like, the energy's like, you sense there's a dip or maybe something, or
Yeah.
something spikes it and you talk about something else. Like,
Yeah, and it's also helped a lot, which I didn't consider. I guess, or maybe I did, but like not to an extreme. I didn't think it would help so much with my social anxiety. Like I have and had a lot more social anxiety when I was younger, and I think this like gives me some sense of like confidence in knowing how to converse with other people,
mm-hmm.
or like, just being a good ear for somebody. And so I've gained a little more confidence and have a little bit less social anxiety because of that.
That's good.
Yeah.
That means you'll have more meaningful conversations.
Yeah, and those are the conversations that matter to me. I don't care for small talk, and I'm not good at small talk. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you have to leave room for meaning.
yeah, I agree.
And you can't force it, but you have to leave room for it. And it's there. It's always there. It's just perspective is important to
But
find
just
that.
to like add on to that, I don't think that everything needs to have meaning.
Um, yeah, I don't think everything has to be the most like serious thing ever. But I think, I guess what I was referring to was meaning in the sense of like purpose and intention, like value. Like I think that everything intrinsically has some sort of value to it.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously it doesn't always have to be so serious or life and death, but just enough that makes its existence worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think that once again, tying that all back to perspective, like, yeah, it all doesn't have to, be the most deep thing in the world or the most meaningful shit. But, people oftentimes do not find meaning or fulfillment in their life. And
That's
they
true.
think they're going to, like, I don't know, magically come across it, or they think they can buy it, or they think, like, once they accomplish all the goals they have, that they'll find it. But, like, that's kind of a trap sometimes. You have to be able to identify it at any given moment. And if you can do that, you can do it at any stage, really.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes work, because
Yeah.
everyone's story is different. And I know for some people it's easy, and for some people it's fucking impossible, and other people it's constant battle to maintain that outlook despite all the challenges and adversity life gives you.
Yeah. I mean, like, I mean, to add to what I meant also is like, I think you make the meaning, you're in control of that meaning. You're in control of what things mean to you and what things don't mean to you. And I just meant in the way that, like, not everything's a destiny, not
Yeah,
everything's
yeah.
like done by God or
It's not all fate, right?
whoever, the stars and like astrology and stuff like that.
Oh
I
yeah, I get what
just
you're saying.
I
In
just
that
mean
sense,
that, like, it's like sometimes people always want to say like, oh, well,
Like not everything's a sign.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
I
I
get that.
meant.
I
Is
I
that
agree with that
like
too.
not everything is a sign, not everything has meaning. Some things are just, it is what it is. And like some things, if you want to add meaning, then you choose to have that meaning. And that's what that means to you, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I get what you're saying. I
Yeah.
feel like there's like another word that we're looking for that probably would make more sense, but then I don't know. People probably they use the two together, and
Hmm.
I get what you're saying because I also didn't mean like that.
Yeah.
And I agree with what you're saying. Like, not everything has to have meaning in the sense like a dream. Like, what is it? What type of sign is this?
Yeah.
Like everything is not to be interpreted as a sign.
Yeah.
And what I mean by meaning is literally like not importance or sign or direction. I mean in terms of like value. Like you can find meaning in just about every little thing that happens in life. And sometimes you have to go out of your way to do the work to find that meaning,
True.
to make things not like more enjoyable. You're not trying to lie to yourself, but what you're trying to do, uh, and I don't mean you, I just mean this is what I try to do, and I have tried to learn and have seen and observed over my lifetime, is just to just be grateful for the value you get out of little things like a small conversation with the old person at work that you're having where you're just giving them the moment where you're present. That's some meaning because you did something for them. You know, like
Well,
you gave
also,
them
I
space.
wanted to talk to them too.
You wanted to talk to them, you wanted to be an ear, you wanted to speak openly with someone. Like there's those things provide meaning throughout the day and throughout your week, and you need to do the work to find meaning or else you won't mean anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
I don't know. What the fuck do I know?
So this was a good conversation. We can wrap things up here. What's your Instagram handle?
My Instagram handle is
You don't have to. I
oh,
was just kidding, actually. It was a joke, but go ahead if you want to.
I was trying to remember a meme page. Let's just say a meme page.
Um,
You know me, you know where I'm at, you know how to find me.
yeah,
You got some shit to talk, call me.
yeah.
We gonna talk some shit.
If you got some shit to talk, call me too.
You wanna talk shit? Call us.
Yeah. If you want to fight me, I'll fight
You
you.
wanna fight? Call us. We'll fight you, we'll talk shit. Call us.
Call us on the 800 line.
We'll see you in the studio, outside in the alley.
Yeah.
Call us.
Call us.
We'll be there.
See ya.
See ya.